now that HS2 has been abandoned, what's going to happen to all the land that was compulsory purchased? Is the government, we know, well, the government have said they're just going to sell it all off, but who to? Can they just sell it off all to their friends in the building industry? Well, there is a case where a government actually tried to do this before. They compulsory purchased loads of land. They didn't then use it for the requisite project, but they just sold it off to all their mates. That was a thing called Critchell Down. And because of that, there's now a set of rules as to how governments are supposed to deal with this. The general rule is, if your land was compulsory purchased and then it's not needed, you've got first dibs. The government have to offer to sell you it back at the current market value. That applies whether the land was compulsory purchased or if actually the government had the power to compulsory purchase. So if they come and want to buy your land and you just agree to it, if they could have compulsory purchased it anyway, that rule still counts. It does not, however, count if your land was on the market anyway and they just bought it. But it's not an absolute. The land has to be sort of available to give you back. Now, if it has been like transformed in some way, say they've either knocked a load of buildings down or they've put a load of buildings up and it's materially different, then they don't necessarily have to sell you it back. Although just putting temporary buildings on, that has not been deemed to be transformative. Also, if they bought a load of land and they divvied it all up and they put new plots there, they're supposed to try and give you the land back that originally matches your original land as best as possible. But there are procedures where, right, we'll just sell you some equivalent land back and, make the most of it. If the plot's too small to be commercially viable to sell, they don't have to do it. Also, they can use it for another purpose if it's something they could have compulsory purchased for. However, they can't get round this rule just by merely transferring the land between departments and then selling it off. So, say for instance it's been bought for the Ministry of Transport, and then they don't need it anymore, but they transfer it within the government to say, the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Defence. But then they don't use it. They can't sell it off that way by saying, well, tough, it's already been sold and used. So like I say, there are, you can't get around it like that. It has to be sort of, the land has genuinely gone beyond use. They've had it so long, or they've done something to it, or they've sold it off, or they've created other interests that they can no longer sell it back. But yeah, if the land still exists and it's more or less in the same state and it can still be identified, like, they haven't flooded it and put a lake on it or anything like that, then yeah, the rule is that it has to be offered to the previous owner. Previous owner includes anybody who's got like a lease of more than 21 years. You don't have to be the freeholder. Also, there is actually a procedure where if the freeholder doesn't want it back, they can actually offer it to whoever the original tenant was, but they don't have to do that. But the rationale behind that is, oh no, we've just bought all this land on taxpayers' money and now we need to get the money back. So let's just let's just see who wants to buy it, and let's just try with the person who's got the best interest in it, because that's the person who was evicted. But like I say, the trouble is, because it's market value, if property prices have plummeted, you're not going to get back what you were originally given for it. So you can see why a lot of people are going to object. But yeah, I just thought people might find that, as always, vaguely interesting. If you did, you know the drill. Please consider clicking the like button, subscribing and sharing. Although, like I say, you don't have to if you don't want to, because I just enjoy rambling.